And the next two sessions are about cognitive learning and cognitive science. And the first, and the one coming now, is about beatboxing. And we have a beatboxing artist that's going to tell us how beatboxing can teach us something about cognitive learning and cognitive science. So I'd like to welcome Reeps, musician and beatbox artist.
Everybody, close your eyes, or sing, go up. Everybody, close your eyes.
Hello, hello. Beatboxing is not an intuitive connection to cognitive process and learning, but there is a connection. There's a number of projects I've been involved with over the last few years, which have involved thought process, creativity, and fundamentally expertise. And what is the question, what is expertise? But as you heard, I'm a beatboxer, and I will start at the beginning, which has led me on this quite strange journey to develop a portfolio of a number of different pieces of work. So I played many different instruments when I was younger. I always wanted to create. I needed to be making things all of the time. And I would play. And when I didn't have my instruments with me, I had this intention, this want to learn. And I realized quite quickly that I could, using the voice, I can articulate ideas, I could internalize music theory, and sounds like became commonplace in my life. I could create all the time. Every single minute, every single day, I could be learning music theory, I could be learning pieces on traditional instruments, and writing my own music. As that developed, I started to compose my own pieces. It wasn't about replicating things, it became an opportunity to create in my own right. And to cut a long story short, that led to my career. But there's one moment I'd like to share with you guys today. It's a happening which manifested as one of the pieces of my portfolio, which I think is relevant. And it was after a performance in London. I was approached by a lady, and she said to me, "I want your brain," which is not a normal thing you hear after a show. And that wonderful woman is Sophie Scott. She's a neurologist at UCL. And I had the pleasure of being part of a study trying to define something called expert behavior. So before I say anything else, I'm going to play a video. This is just a thing that was released on Random Acts for Channel 4. But just to give a little insight stylistically into what I do, and a little bit from Sophie Scott, you'll see. So if we could play the video.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
No other animal can make the sounds we make. I've worked with the human brain and voice for over 20 years now, and I've always considered human speech to be comfortably the most complex sound in nature. According to traditional phonetics, we can only produce one source of sound at a time. Then I met Harry.
What started as something genuinely personal became an obsession that changed the shape of my life. I started by speaking my compositions. So cat became and ba-dum-bum became What I do is so often associated with replication, but it is and can be creation. these sounds are mine. And I came up with something called sound trees, which is a visual theory to show how I came up with these new sounds. So I can show you how I get to by adding and together to get. And if you bring in, you get.
3, 2, 1.
Make music. I'm Reeps 1, and I speak music.
Remembered? So this is an abstract, but to give some clarity on something way more fundamental than the beatboxing is what the study was all about. So after this woman came up to me in London and said, "I want your brain," I was flung into an MRI. There was myself and 20 non-beatboxers, and what we were trying to work out is my beatboxing an expert behavior? Expert behavior is the idea of, it's associated with flow state, the sort of crude 10,000 hours number. And obviously there's many forms of expertise, but the great thing about beatboxing and the voice is you can be in an MRI. So I was sent off on this journey, and I had a responsibility to develop my ideas on what it was to be an expert, because I've been obsessed with the idea of progressing, refining what I do. But that's been, as an artist, a subjective opinion. But now, via technology, via the scientific realm, I had an opportunity to get an insight into an objective idea of what expertise is. So I had probably the most abstract experience of my life, being beatboxing in an MRI. And I was then compared to the 20 non-beatboxers. And what you found is, in my scan, you had what you call a hyperactive localized activity. And in the non-beatboxers, there's this spread firing. And any individual who's learning a new skill, you can feel it. In young people, in yourselves, there's this spreading of concept, this undefined exploration. The process has not been pushed and internalized. But with myself, I've beatboxed way more than 10,000 hours, which I think I'm proud to say. And we proved that I had expert behavior with my beatboxing. And the whole point I'm talking about this is it goes beyond beatboxing. I want to make it very clear what this means. So when I am creating, I want to be able to have no stammering of concept. So as I beatbox, my beatboxing, as fluid as speech, manifests as an abstract cloud of ideas behind my eyes, and then it comes out as music. So when I'm developing a new skill, what we're trying to do is achieve that refined process. We're trying to achieve that refined concept. So with language, which is language is the best example to clarify this concept. So if I'm not fluent in a language, say French, and I'm trying to say something, there's a stammering of concept. I know what I want to say, but I have to go through the files of my mind to find an idea, and then, But when I speak to you in English, it's bizarre. There's no planning, but it's completely articulate, mostly. It's completely fluid. I'm freestyling all the time. And when you highlight that, it's very strange to think that there is this amazing flow state expertise that we use all the time, every single day. So what I got from this, and when I teach and when I speak to people, I had a clear idea of what I'm trying to do and what expertise is. And it is, you can use the example of language, this flow of intention, no stammering of concept. So with all my projects, everything that I do now, I seek out that type of flow, that type of clarity, and that non-stammering of concept. And I arrived there with beatboxing of all things. So that's an insight into expert behavior. I'm Harry F. Thank you very much.